All right, the Colorado State Supreme Court ruled yesterday that former President Donald Trump is ineligible to hold office again. They're saying that he engaged in an insurrection against the Constitution. It was a 4-3 decision in that state Supreme Court, and that decision is already drawing fire from legal experts. It literally marks the first time a court has kept a presidential candidate off the ballot. With the Trump team appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court, what is this ultimately going to mean for the 2024 presidential race? And what does it tell us about the left and their ability, their willingness to use the legal system to attack political opponents? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Mike Davis. He's the founder of the Article 3 Project. He previously served in all three branches of our government, including as chief counsel for nominations to Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley. He also served in the Department of Justice during the George W. Bush administration and on the staff of Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. So, Mike, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me back.
All right, well, first of all, your reaction to the court's decision yesterday from Colorado.
This was an abomination by four partisan activists on the Colorado Supreme Court. The Colorado Supreme Court is completely controlled by Democrat appointees, 7-0. And this decision was so bad by these four left-wing activists that three of their Democrat colleagues dissented strongly to what they did here. And it is unprecedented, like you said, that they disqualified a presidential candidate and they used a bogus legal theory under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was enacted back in 1868 to prevent insurrectionists who took up arms against the United States during the Civil War from undermining the Civil War, post-Civil War Reconstruction effort in the Union. And it was never intended to be a political weapon used by partisan activists on state Supreme Courts to go after their political enemies. And that's exactly what the Colorado Supreme Court did in this ruling. If you want to disqualify an office holder under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, Congress has to pass a federal criminal statute, which Congress did in 1869 related to insurrection or rebellion. You have to bring federal charges. A federal grand jury has to approve those federal charges. A federal jury has to unanimously find guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The federal court has to convict, and that conviction must be upheld on appeal. That is the only way you can disqualify under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. There is a controlling opinion by Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase from 1869 that says just that, and Democrats disregarded all of this and had four Democrat operatives on the Colorado Supreme Court disenfranchised more than 1 million Colorado voters who supported President Trump last time and would certainly support him this time.
Yeah, it really is stunning, this whole thing. And as you brought up, these Supreme Court justices are appointed. They're not elected, so they're all appointed by what seems to be radical left-wing Democrat operatives is what they have become. But I did read some of the dissenting opinion today, and as you referenced, some of the dissent, even they are Democrats, but the dissenting opinion on this is scorching. How in the world, Mike, can a state court rule that there was an insurrection when the federal grand jury rejected all the insurrection charges? How does the state take that which the federal court rejected and they insert it and say he's not qualified?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Jack Smith, who is a partisan bulldog, couldn't even find evidence of insurrection to charge President Trump and his supporters. Because think about it, how many insurrectionists go unarmed into a nation's capital, get to the Senate floor, walk through velvet ropes, follow police direction, and don't burn down the place? January 6th was a lawful protest that was permitted by the National Park Service and devolved into a riot. It was not an insurrection. Otherwise, Jack Smith would have charged insurrection. And how they found insurrection in Colorado was particularly egregious. The Denver District Court Judge Sarah Wallace donated to an anti-Trump January 6th PAC to chase Republicans out of office. Yet she sat on this case. She refused to recuse reversible error. And she found an insurrection based upon a 5-day, very limited trial that I sat through all 5 days on an election challenge where you're just deciding whether election rules are followed, not whether there's an insurrection, not whether there's a constitutional argument to be resolved, a novel one for the first time in American history under a constitutional provision passed 155 years ago. This is as bad as it gets, and even these 3 Democrat dissenters on the Supreme Court say so.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the media would be doing right now if this were reversed. And if the whole thing were reversed, this would just be unbelievable what we would be hearing. Let me ask you this, because I brought this up as we entered into our time together, but we hear all the time from the left about threats to our democracy. That Trump is a threat. Trump followers are threats to our democracy, all sorts of things. This lawfare, as it's going to be known, where the judiciary is attacking political opponents, is this in itself, in your opinion, a threat to democracy?
100%. These are republic-ending tactics by these Democrat prosecutors and Democrat attorneys and operatives and judges in these Democrat places like New York, D.C., Atlanta, now Colorado. Remember how the Roman Republic fell. It was the lawfare waged against Caesar, which caused him to cross the Rubicon from Gaul into Rome, and that led to the fall of the Roman Republic, right? It led to civil war and the fall of the Roman Republic. I'm not going to say that this is going to lead to violence, but this will lead to political and legal tit for tat back and forth between the parties that will lead to the destruction of America as we know it. These Democrats who are pretending like they're protecting democracy are actually destroying democracy. How the heck does disenfranchising more than 1 million Colorado voters who support Trump, how does that in any way protect democracy?
Absolutely. So this goes to the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court now. What do you anticipate is going to happen there?
Well, the Supreme Court has discretionary review. They don't have to take almost any case, but they certainly should take this case because this is the first time ever that this has happened where a presidential candidate has been removed from a state ballot based upon a bogus legal theory. And this sets a destructive precedent for our country because it's obvious Trump's not going to win Colorado. It's become a deep blue state since they went to all mail ballots and legalized weed, and all the leftists have moved in here from Colorado or from New York and California. But what it does is it sets a precedent where other states, swing states, can point to Colorado, like Michigan, like Minnesota, like New Hampshire, and say, look, here's the precedent we're going to use to take Trump off the ballot in these swing states. The Democrats are so fearful that after impeaching Trump twice for nonsense, indicting him 4 times for non-crimes, illegally, unconstitutionally, gagging him twice, trying to bankrupt him for non-fraud, that all backfired. Trump is beating Biden like a drum on November 5th, 2024. So now they just want to destroy democracy by removing the leading presidential candidate from the ballot. The Supreme Court must fix this.
I think that's exactly what's taking place. You hit it right on the head. Mike Davis from Article 3 Project, thank you so much for joining us. Merry Christmas to you.